We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
Oh yeah, dude. There's some Nephilim.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit what happened to the home of the brave. These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us modern-day slaves. And everybody's just walking around, head in the clouds, and won't awaken to a dead in the grave. But then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end of days.
Everybody is slaves, only some are aware that the government releasing poison in the...
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Nephilim Death Squad. I am David Lee Corbo, aka The Raven. That is TopLobsta, the father of disinformation.
What's up?
Whom I just dragged that out a little bit to give you some time to do.
I know you saw that. I got it. We're like to the wire, baby.
That was pretty good. Guys, before we get into today's episode, shout out Toad. Sometime around the 30-minute mark, we'll be going live exclusively to patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. You can sign up there. You can keep watching the show. You can engage in the live chat. You can take advantage of an ad-free viewing experience. And I got to keep remembering to say that because you people that listen, you go, there's ads on here. Not here.
Not here. The entire
Not
Book
on
of
Patreon.
Revelation series is up here for you guys to enjoy.
Check that out.
Only 2 episodes of Timeline Cleanse. That's fine.
That's interesting. I could have sworn I streamed more to Patreon. Oh well, those are there too if you want to have those.
You know what? You should put the entire backlog up there.
Oh my god, I do a lot of uploading and downloading. Anyway, guys, first dibs on tickets to Bohemian Grove when they drop, and they will be dropping sometime February, March. We'll be doing the show live, and you guys will have access to that. We want our Patreon members to get access to the VIP tickets as well as first dibs on the regular day. Also, discount codes off of merchandise from TopLobsta.com.
Let's just show the shirts. We got some shirts on.
We're
today.
wearing the shirts. God,
Florida
that was
Illuminati.
lame and flat. Why do we say that? These shirts are great.
They're all right.
Go buy them.
They're fine.
Joining us today is 7Cs. We brought him back again, or rather, he made the fatal mistake of coming back. No matter how many times he shows up, he's never off put by us enough to say no when it comes up again. Thank you for joining us, 7Cs. Before we get into the conversation, got to tell people where they can find what you do and what it is you do.
Absolutely. I post research all the time. You can find me on X. That's where I post most of my stuff. I'm working on getting my Substack back in order as well. A couple articles there. Currently working on one that covers a topic we'll kind of get into today. And then I also stream to X, Rumble, and YouTube, usually weekly. At least one or 2 shows a week.
That's awesome. You got to get people to really start, especially Rumble. You know, YouTube is interesting. YouTube released something today talking about it was inviting creators who had been banned previously from YouTube for political, ideas, whatever. And so,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it might be a sign of the times that the tide has shifted, and we've been saying that, but it might be shifting for YouTube. But the point that I'm trying to get at is your content isn't really along party lines. Everybody gets got, right? If you see corruption, you're going to talk about it. So your stuff is,
not going to be safe.
Yeah. I wonder if, given Elon Musk's proximity to Donald Trump and the way that the conversation is going lately, if maybe what was previously safe for you to say, at least on X, won't be so safe for you to say on X. So guys, if you are a fan of that sort of content, you should be following 7Cs on all platforms, because who knows, X might be the safe place for the past year, 2 years. Maybe it's going to be YouTube.
I would say, like, for guys like you and us as well, I just backed up our email list from Patreon because who knows? And email, obviously email is still its own thing. You're talking about Gmail, Google, other places like Yahoo, whatever. But you do what you can, Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Evan. Do you see what I'm seeing? Jimmy Kimmel gets fired from ABC. They since have hired him back. the pendulum is swinging, and now the very same hammers that were used to hit the conservative movement over the head with have been pulled out of the hands of the lefties and are being used to, knock them on the head, which means maybe you can't be saying things about Donald Trump anymore. Maybe you can't be saying things about Elon Musk for much longer. Any concerns about that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the cancel culture in and of itself is sort of a weapon of the powers that be that pull the strings for the state, the NGOs, like all of these think tanks that were behind the original, cancel culture where they were talking about equality and trying to label people bigots and racists. Like those are the same actors that are behind this, but now it's sort of a critique of people that are dissenting of the state. Because it seems to be, not necessarily like the ideology itself. Like I think they just classified Antifa as a terrorist organization. It was signed by Donald Trump as an executive order, I think yesterday or today. And the problem that I have is that you won't decide if you're Antifa. The government will decide if you are Antifa. And they can come up with, I mean, we've seen the same thing with like the anti-Semitism term, where any level of anything that they dislike, they will just throw that label on it. But now with the state sort of, aligning itself behind this movement as well, and just the entire capture of what seems like the culture, like MAGA is still very, very healthy, regardless of like the little echo chambers we see where people are questioning the thing and the tech thing. Like there are still an overwhelming amount of supporters, and I think that they have the state, all of these NGOs, public sentiment, and like support from the international community as well, to kind of do the same thing that they did leading up to.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I'm of two minds when this whole thing is unfolding. Am I a fan of Antifa? No. Do I think they're Yes.
Yeah.
Do I have a certain amount of joy that, wells up within me when I see them get labeled as a terrorist organization? Yes.
You know what the dichotomy is that's like laid out before you, and it's meant to be which way Western man, but I think they want us to pick. I don't know what they want us to pick anymore. You have Erica Kirk saying, yes, I forgive this guy. And then Donald Trump immediately right after coming up after her and going, I don't forgive my enemies. I hate my enemies.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh God, like you could see the folly in the vengeance, or like the kind of like pseudo vengeance that he's talking about. And you're like, that maybe not so good. Yeah. I could also see the folly in allowing your enemies to your husband and then just, okay.
Yeah.
Like that's also not a path that I think.
Well, that's the thing that I'm caught up. It's this binary that I'm caught up in, where I'm like, I know that the correct path, in order to not have an endless chain of violence that begets violence that begets violence, is forgiveness. Somebody has to stop the cycle somewhere. But then I also look at, like, let's say the whole white erasure sentiment, and this idea that the middle class is under attack, the conservatives are under attack, Christianity is under attack, white people are under attack. And it's been that way for like a decade. And you'd have a real hard time saying that that's not the case. And so at what point do you go, this is appropriate, this catalyst means it's time to fight back? I don't know.
It's tough. And the one thing that, kind of concerns me is that on both sides of the conversation, it's still like the hate and the vitriol needs to be geared towards your neighbor, or your political opposite. And instead it's like the government was the facilitator of the lockdowns, of the cancel culture from before. They're going to be like the main proponent now. There was never any like accountability. It's like some people might have lost office, but then they got like public appearance speeches and payouts that way, or they got appointed to a board of an NGO or something like that to keep themselves going. And really it just seems like a reboot, essentially like a soft reboot. And I think that the pendulum is going to swing the other way even further. In the sense that we're not like, there's people talking about getting people fired from their jobs and like all the stuff that we heard prior, but with the same rhetoric now coming from like the technological militarized police state, They're talking about sending National Guard into various towns and things, and that to me is like, okay, so now we're doing all of this without the guise of some pandemic. Now we don't even need that.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while, you know, when I was younger, I was, whenever you first get exposed to conspiracy, you kind of become like an alarmist, and that's putting it mildly, right? You know, your paradigm's been busted. The world's not what it seems. And in fact, there are dark and nefarious things moving about that have, you know, really terrifying implications for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I was unsure of when that future was. So I was thinking, and I was trying to tell people, and I was incredibly wrong. It was like 15 years too early that they were going to implement martial law.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this idea in my head, and I think a lot of it was due to media, like what that was going to be like. It was going to be just this totalitarian rollout of a military police presence, and that we were going to be part of the resistance. They were going to be rounding us up and putting us in camps, and the lines were going to be really obvious, who was on which side. And now that I'm older, I realize that it's this really masterfully done thing where they have made us cheer for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in other words, you allow crime to reach such a place, statistically speaking, that it becomes completely unignorable, and you wait, you do nothing about it, and you wait until the people get so fed up. Why is there no response to this? And then when they do try to talk about it, you call them racist, you call them this, you call them that, and you allow that sort of culture to propagate for a while. So now the people are noticing, but they're getting on every time they try to draw attention to it. And then even the government kind of, you know, steps in line and goes, no, that's bigoted, that's hateful, that's this and that. They align with all those kind of ideologies. And then you finally let the, you know, a straw that breaks the camel's back come into play. And people will overwhelmingly shout for the government to step in and do something about this. So I just never imagined when I was younger that they would create a set of scenarios where we would cheer for martial law.
Is this could you draw any parallels to crypto with this example? Because we were talking pre-chat about crypto being stifled in a way, and I do remember this. I vaguely remember the mining of crypto. I think they were like energy issues, and that was like along left-leaning lines. Like we were talking about climate change. Oh, we can't. It's just too much power to mine this crypto, and you know, then you get a right-wing government in, and now it's being exacerbated. It's being encouraged, I suppose. Can we get into that? Do you see any is there a conspiracy behind the not allowing this, and all of a sudden now like it feels like the floodgates are open and we're like, were we supposed to go in this direction?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, it is important to kind of keep into context, you know, like the Israeli influence in not only crypto, but also like through things like the ADL. And they're even going through a campaign right now to try to remove editors from Wikipedia for claiming like they're pro-Qatari or just anti-Israeli in general. So really trying to capture that entire narrative as well. I think they're tired of the early life jokes. And,
it's just too easy.
Yeah. And so what you have is essentially, you know, the same way that like those independent Bitcoin miners were trying to, you know, make their own headway and things like that. We had people getting canceled for trying to like call out and stuff. And now, you know, many years after, it's like it is okay to call out these because that also sort of provides cover for like, in my opinion, like it's sort of that you're almost there, you know, and then you figure that out. Like you were kind of saying, you become an alarmist and you sort of attach yourself to that specific narrative. And I think that, you know, sort of thing happened with Bitcoin in a way. Where Bitcoin was sort of guerrilla marketed. You know, when you go back and you look into like the things that led to cryptocurrency, cryptography, like the cypherpunks and stuff, you end up stumbling on this operation where essentially You had the CIA, German intelligence, and British intelligence were creating these cipher machines to like pass messages during wartime between countries. And the entire time, the company that was making those, who claimed they were unhackable, uncrackable, were selling the keys that could solve all of those messages directly to the CIA, the B&D, British intelligence, and things like that. They actually call it the biggest intelligence coup of the 20th century. Where essentially that just sort of opened the floodgates. And so you had this company that was promising something that was safe, secure, would protect your privacy, your identity, what the contents of your message. And that ends up leading us into things like Bitcoin, which was sort of propagated, you know, through the Satoshi Nakamoto story. It's based on the NSA's SHA-256 algorithm for their encryption. So the people that made the thing that supposedly encrypts it says it's uncrackable, unhackable, you're totally fine in private. And you know, you had Hal Finney, who is part of like the Alcor Life Extension Foundation. That's that like transhumanist thing that Peter Thiel's a part of, that Jeffrey Epstein was a part of. He was one of the guys that came out and said, hey, there's this guy named Satoshi Nakamoto. He's supposedly a defector from the NSA. He wants us to have this freedom money. And I'll kind of get a little long-winded here, so I apologize in advance, but you have people like Adam Back, who is now in bed with Howard Lutnick, who is our Secretary of Commerce. He has something called the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. He was one of the guys that claimed that Satoshi Nakamoto was, you know, a legitimate person, and that this was like an independent thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, if you there's actually a really good breakdown by Dr. Cruz that kind of goes into like the cypherpunks and everything, and how that sort of came to be. People like Edward Snowden and Julian Assange were actually in that movement way before they were known, you know, by the national headlines and things for the stuff that they were involved with. But so essentially what you have now is, you know, Bitcoin is and cryptocurrency in general is sort of this perfect end all be all, where now instead of having like a currency that is a currency, it is an asset that becomes the currency. And it comes with a specific set of identifiers like token addresses and things that are permanent and essentially interoperable. They contain identifying information that, you know, at the admin level is completely visible, and you're able to see that more often than not. And you know, with the Bitcoin mining thing that sort of came up, it all became sort of this talk about how Bitcoin, you know, is tied to energy, because the Bitcoin miners were kind of being shut down. You know, you saw all these rigs and stuff where they were basically using the government to shut these things down under the alleged, you know, climate change narrative. And it's really important when you start taking into consideration, like, know your customer, which is like a policy that cryptocurrencies have that requires them to sort of identify people in order to meet regulations. So that could be your legal information, your financial information, any sort of identifying information to tie that to you. And then you have the ADL on the flip side that's sort of working with things like Builders for Tomorrow, which we'll kind of get into a little bit as we move forward with this. If you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me. But the Builders of Tomorrow is very closely connected with this company called Foundry and American Bitcoin. And American Bitcoin is essentially its own cryptocurrency. It is owned and operated largely by World Liberty Financial, which is owned by Donald Trump's sons, Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and then Stephen Witkoff, who is the envoy to the Middle East, the guy that's been doing all the real estate development stuff for Gaza. His son is the other owner. So those three sort of own it. And I actually have an image here that kind of breaks down a little bit of that web. I might be able to share with you guys really quick.
Sure, go ahead and pull that up. I'm always like super skeptical whenever they go like, oh, this thing is super safe, you know, it's encrypted, it's this, and this is like the same thing. Like people will tell me like download this app or that app so that we could talk so that the government can't. And I'm like, as soon as you come out with anything that is supposed to be unhackable or it's supposed to be something that can't be spied on, I go, it's probably already hacked and it's already spied on.
Yeah.
So I'm always really skeptical about crypto to the extent that I don't even really touch
So what
it.
is the? Can you explain like some of the tenets of American crypto? Because does it have a white sheet or what's the tech behind it?
The American Bitcoin.
American Bitcoin. Sorry, yeah.
So essentially, American Bitcoin is its own independent cryptocurrency that was established in partnership with Domineering Holdings, American Data Centers, Foundry, and Hut 8. And essentially what they do is they say, hey, you know, instead of getting on the like actual Bitcoin chain, you can get onto our chain that's sort of like a representation of Bitcoin because we have it in our liquidity pool.
So it's not actually Bitcoin, but they're
Right.
just utilizing this
Well,
name.
Absolutely.
To be honest, like
That's
like-
interesting because everybody's got a familiar. It's like everybody's comfortable with Bitcoin. So
Half
if you can
of-
get that name,
half of the appeal of Bitcoin was anonymity, but that's taken off. If you really want to trade meaningfully with people, like you said, you got to know your customer. That goes out the window fairly quickly with things like Coinbase and other kind of markets that you're going to be trading on generally.
Absolutely.
Then there's the idea of the scarcity, which I look at Bitcoin and I say, I guess it's still good in that aspect where, I don't know, it can't be really tampered with. I think there's only supposed to be 21 million of these things created in its lifetime. So that holds the value of money, which is the problem with the dollar that we have. So because the dollar is done.
am I though? Because it seems
Yes.
hilarious to me. Well, that's a silly question to ask, but it seems hilarious to me that you would go, there's only 21,000 of these
21 million.
21 million of these intangible digital made up dollars. And so I go, if you can print physical money like the Federal Reserve has been doing, why couldn't you just digitally create, literally highlight, copy, paste?
That's what the blockchain does. Or
It
that's what
blocks
it's
you from doing that.
No, well, the blockchain means that there has to be unanimous consension on when you're doing things with the money.
So
or
just
with the crypto.
blackmail whoever those people that give the consensus
Every
are.
single person. If you
Yeah,
own
it's-
like 0.00,
Oh, I see.
it's impossible. That's go ahead. Seven.
So it works like it's called decentralized governance, and essentially anybody that holds crypto on most networks, they essentially get sort of a voting power in a sense. Most companies have sort of moved away from that. I know Ethereum used to be like very reliant on governance from their community, but they since switched to proof of stake instead of proof of work, which just allows any investor to dump a bunch of money in, and now they become a significant node and decision maker in the network.
It probably gets really jammed up if you're doing like the entire community has to vote.
That's the point of it. Like, so the reason why,
well, it seems like it'd be hard to do anything then.
that's the point. This is a LBRY library. It's the backbone, or I guess it was or still is the backbone of Odyssey.com, the place I worked for.
Right.
The idea behind that was that it was true blockchain technology, meaning if a piece of information went up in there, like 3D printed guns, that's like the big one, it would have to have unanimous consensus from the community to take it down. Unless, I think they had some stipulations, unless it was like CP, things like that really were just completely illegal. But things that are in this, obviously the gray area, they had to, there's no way to take it down.
It seems like that could, like, there's a lot of unforeseen ways that could become problematic.
There is. And that's why Jeremy Kaufman, he operates in that like gray area all the time of like, you know, that could be really nefarious.
Right.
But it's like, well, do you want freedom? That's the question. It's like, I get it. I see both sides, but you know, well, whatever. The government went after them and they gutted them. So there goes that. There's, you know.
It really does seem like they deal exclusively in catch-22s these days. Like you have to concede something, you know, in order to get anything that you want. And I think they kind of use that, and they'll say, well, we'll get them to concede here with this, and then concede here with this, and then concede here with this, just a little bit. You know, they'll have somebody say something that you like really, really like, and then they'll kind of throw in, you know, some talking points that maybe you're not okay with, but because they said that thing you like, you'll continue like following them, promoting them, and things like. I think that sort of thing like operates 1,000 times a day, 1,000 different ways, and it's like all trying to get us to basically can take baby steps to conform to this overarching agenda, I think.
You can see that I mean, that's kind of like human nature, right? So I think that was really best exemplified when Donald Trump he had like 34 accounts levied against him of what the hell ever it was. But it was like 33 of them were, you know, I think how was it? It was like one of them was a felony, whatever the hell it was. They all kind of fell away. This is after that woman accused him of like sexual assault, and then she ended up being obviously crazy, and that whole thing fell away. And so by this time, the public was getting used to this like false persecution where they were just jamming him up at every possible turn. When those 34 accounts fell off, what I then saw was like everybody who was concerned about Israel's representation within our own government or influence within our own policy immediately stopped giving a shit about that and then just advocated for Donald Trump, who, you know, pretty obviously was intertwined with it in a massive way. And all that sentiment went away. So it was like, yeah, he says a lot of things that you do like, and he's better than the guy that you see right now. But previously, where the whole internet, or at least X, was on fire with like, why does it have so much influence in our government? This thing happens to Donald Trump, and they're like, you know, Trump 2024 immediately is the thing that they post after this happens to him. And it's like, yeah, so you can capture a lot of people consenting to a thing they wouldn't if you have it's almost like the same thing when they put all that extra in a bill and they pass it, and it's like the bill is a good thing, but within it is all this other crap that doesn't even pertain to it, and it's horrifying, but they go, well, but the bill is a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's like 100%. Even like the Butler incident and like the parallels to, I think, like the conversations we're having today, where, you know, the Butler thing completely, I think, sealed the deal on people getting behind Trump. And I think very much so, like with this Charlie Kirk, we're seeing it used the same way to get people behind the police state. Yeah. And you know, the police state takes various forms. Like obviously we have the boots on the ground militarized police, but also, you know, going back to like the free speech stuff and this tokenization Top, I'm actually glad that you brought up, you know, like once it's on chain, it's usually there forever. And it's typically like really, really hard to remove. And I think that's important when we start talking about like social media and free speech, and the way that they're sort of trying to tie like digital identity to social media. We have things like the Kids Online Safety Act, which is another example of that thing where it's like, hey, if you want to protect the kids, then you have to give us, you know, all of your information and identify
It's always
yourself.
done that way. Protect the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And and so what you have now is, okay, so we're gonna all have digital IDs. They are gonna be tokenized on the internet. They will then attach your social medias to those via the Kids Online Safety Act. I actually have another graph for this to kind of explain how it works.
And then this is like social credit score kind of a system, and then you integrate some sort of like a Palantir facial recognition thing, and then you're moving around the city. Everybody knows where you are and what your social credit score is.
I could already tell that this is getting crazy here.
Yeah, so like with the Genius Act, you know, it legitimized the stable coins, standardized like regulations, permits cryptocurrencies to function as like their own private reserve bank, creates one-to-one backing, facilitates like the adoption. I think eventually what we're going to see is like when you go to like a POS or a checkout anywhere at a store, that it's not going to be one of those things where, you know, it's going to be a huge hassle. They're basically going to allow it to like, you can pay with your phone, and they're going to make it super easy, but then they'll also be able to then have a permanent ledger of like every single thing you bought at the grocery store, or when you, you know, like try to sell something in between people. If the physical representation of currency goes away, that will always be on market, because
that's
in order
interesting.
For you two to exchange value, it essentially eliminates like the private transactions, the gray markets, black markets, things like that.
Well, there's a when I was in New Jersey recently, one of my friends said that there's a supermarket. I don't know if it's in Princeton or something like that. That is a membership based one, and you don't do anything. Like you just go in there, you toss it in the cart, off the shelf into the cart, and then you just walk out.
I think that's an Amazon store.
Maybe it is an Amazon. Sure,
you can go in, you take something off the shelf,
and it's like Amazon sells that data.
It even knows like what you've taken off the shelf and looked at, put back. But you take it off the shelf, put it in your bag, you walk out, and then your card is charged for it. So there's no even a swipe or transaction.
Nancy, if you can find it, Nancy, I think this is going to be relevant soon. But there's a video from on Twitter. If you type in, I forget what it is. It's a band, and they implemented facial recognition in their live show.
It's like Mayday and they were something.
I forget what it is.
I saw it just recently.
Yeah. Maybe somebody in the chat will know.
It looked like Batman. I don't know if you ever seen
that. When they're doing like the database search and they're bringing up all the faces.
It looked
of
like
all the
one
criminals.
of these charts, actually. But of just the faces of the people and they're like, look how cool this is. I'm like, that's fucking
it was actually alarming. Yeah. But if you look it up, Nancy, just like AI facial recognition and then show, you might be able to find it. If you don't, that's all right. But I think that's going to come up soon, probably when we get to the AI part. So continue, Seven.
Yeah, absolutely. So some other things, obviously, like they are pushing digital ID, especially with like the real ID stuff that's happening. They used immigration to sort of shoehorn that in. So more of the same, like Biden let them all in so that Trump could kick them all out and install this digital ID to do so. Yeah. And that, you know, obviously with like the Kids Online Safety Act is going to basically take your actual ID, digitize it, and then with the Kids Online Safety Act, that digital ID will then be connected to your socials, and everything you've ever said will be inherently connected to that. It will be recorded. It will be placed on a blockchain ledger, and so everything you've ever said will be
dude! When they
activate
the Noahide laws, they're gonna be able to us instantly.
So easy. Like they're just gonna show us and it'll be like, yeah, you know what, you're right.
I'm like, yeah, dude, fine, it's fine. Oh, I see Nancy sent something to the production chat. I do want to show this. Maybe let's do it now because it's it's such a massive attack. Thank you, Jin. Jin's the best.
That's it.
It's in the production room chat, so we'll have to bring it up. But yeah, it operates, this facial recognition software, this AI driven facial recognition program operates just like you've seen, like you said, in a Batman movie. I mean, it's like I didn't think it would. I always thought it was kind of goofy. I'd always go, it would never look like that, but this is it. Massive attack.
Dude, that's how I knew that Batman was the bad guy. Like he's killing dogs in the beginning of that movie, throwing them off the roof of the parking lot, and then just like a mass surveillance system, and we're like, yeah, that's great. That's
watching
horrible.
Everybody jerk off. Yeah, it's not good. Massive Attack used live facial recognition and facial tracking during their most recent performance. Let this grip. Probably.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Here you go. And this is live. This is their audience members staring up in horror.
They're like, oh, what is that?
As their own faces bop around on the Megatron here on the big screen behind the band.
Isn't it kind of funny? Like, so people are not going to, the normies won't calculate this and understand this as the threat that it is. But already prefaced it with what was the guy at the Coldplay concert? You know, the dudes
that was cheating on his wife.
Yeah. So it's like,
that's right.
We've already been told, this is a negative, even though it's funny and
we found the lady who took the baseball from the kid at the Cubs game or whatever it was.
So there's your positive, but it's like
there's your positive. Yeah.
The negatives are, it's like, hey, this has been happening for a long time. Watch us ruin this guy's life.
Yeah, man. Imagine this. Imagine like, I don't know, you falsely attribute these people to being associated on something online that they're not. Like, let's say like a hate group or something like that, far right hate group or far left hate group. Antifa is now a terrorist organization. You once put on Facebook some sort of sentiment that was anti-Trump administration, anti-anything, and they use that to wrap you up in some sort of whatever Patriot Act related terrorist legislation that was passed, and they're allowed to now do X, Y, and Z to you because you posted Trump's a fascist. You know what I mean, or what have you? Yeah, very, very. It's not good, man. It's not good.
Absolutely. And too, like, we talk about like the explosion of data centers. I was calling it out how last year, like the projections for the grid over the next 5 years was going to like quadruple. I think there was even an updated study that came out about that this year that said that it's going even further than that. And that to me goes back to that Bitcoin mining thing and talking about how, these people are contributing to climate change and stuff because companies like Foundry, which is partnered with American Bitcoin. So in, by proxy, like the Trump administration, the Trump family, and everyone that is involved with that. And they have become like the largest miner of Bitcoin. So they have mined the last 9 blocks of Bitcoin in a row to themselves, which is like extremely unprecedented. We had that like back in the super early days before anybody knew what Bitcoin was. But then obviously, as it caught on and more people were aware, those ended up getting dwarfed. And now we have data centers that are doing, 10,000 times the amount of compute power that those people were getting punished for in order to mine Bitcoin and basically create this monopoly. And tying it all to the current administration that is like relaxing red tape on data centers and AI and crypto in general, it very quickly becomes this thing where, it's like the space race, but the guy that's in charge of the presidency is directly profiting off of it, and so he can make the rules as he goes. He actually just passed another thing.
Well, then he's not just profiting. So David, I don't know if you know exactly what the mining process is. It's just like I don't know if they're supercomputers, but they're computers that process data extremely fast. And the data that they're processing is the transactions, the microtransactions that people are constantly making. So basically they're confirming if David has 1 Bitcoin and he traded it to me, now that's in my ledger and you have 0 Bitcoins, I have 1.
So that's what mining is?
That's what mining is. Just
more accurately called tracking.
It's keeping accountability of the ledger.
Right.
So that's what, like,
because if there's this much in circulation, it all has to be accounted for.
But it takes a lot of electricity to do this. So every time they mine, every time that there's a halvening, which I don't even know which halvening we're at right now, but I know a big one was in 2020, right around, and then it just continues to happen. The payouts for these get less and less. They half. So before, let's say you would mine to a certain point, you would get 1 Bitcoin. After the halving, you get half, and then you get a quarter, and then but it's diluted down. But these people are like, it's crazy because they're probably spending fake money to pay for their electricity bill to get this other fake money.
Ugh. It's a nightmare. Bizarre. It's a nightmare scenario to me. I just don't know. It's strange to me. Oh my goodness. Wow. 38 minutes and we've allowed these poor people. Speaking of people who should be mining data in Bitcoin, we have to kick out these poor people. Guys, if you want to continue watching this, patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad is where you want to do it. Otherwise, give it about a week or so. It'll be out in its entirety. But this one is kind of important given the direction of things. You might want to watch. So okay, I kind of interrupted the flow of that, but I didn't know that that's what.
No, because I know David
was
like I know you understand
very little
crypto, but like
no, barely. I mean, to say I understand crypto is laughable. I don't understand crypto, and so this is all out of my depth. I'm trying desperately, white knuckling to.
You better understand it because this is what they're doing.
Well, I'm listening to this all, and I'm going like, it looks like it's better to leave and go into the forest. There's no version of this.
I'm gonna start digging a flat.
I've said a lot of things
on my backyard.
45. I've said a lot of things, on the internet. My face is gonna be on a different type of massive attack at one day, and they're gonna come for me, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, the Noahide laws are on now, and we're gonna have to."
The reality is that they'll end up coming for. And everybody, no matter how minuscule your thoughts or ideas are,
you gotta do you
say what you mean?
Well, say what you mean, sure. And then, but do I wait for the, or do I go like, you'll never get me? and I run into the forest and I live out there, or maybe I go into one of these cavernous
We're not there
systems.
yet. We're talking about listen.
That's where my head is.
We can still game the system for the time being. If you understand how cryptocurrency works and which way they're headed, you can get out in front of it. Which I do want to ask Seven about his opinion on that. But
Okay.
tell us a little bit more about how this thing is playing out. What are these?
How are they planning to?
What are these lizard people doing?
So essentially, we have these things called carbon credits, and carbon fees, carbon taxes, and it all ties back to the original like technocracy movement. They had the idea to get rid of like the artificial price system that we have now that used to be based on gold, and so on and so forth, and they wanted to create an energy-based currency. They call it ergs. I actually have a passage from, let me see if I can find it here, Life in a Technocracy. So this came out in like 1933, I think. But they talk about essentially the physicists have worked out a means of applying the ERG, or the unit of work, to all forms of energy. It is possible to state human effort, stored latent energy, and recurrent solar energy in ERGs. So you have this association where essentially everything is tracked and associated with an energy cost, whether that be like transacting or distribution, even the energy cost to like grow, food or create products would be basically measured on this scale. And carbon credits are kind of like the precursor to that. In the sense that, we're already penalizing people for the amount of carbon that they produce. And essentially what you have, like, that's where we started to get all the green energy from. The issue is that we are carbon. We produce carbon every time we breathe. They have mapped out our children's carbon footprints and how much having children impacts that. And so what you have is essentially like a very slippery slope, where they're going to use the climate change narrative. I mean, there's a reason why Elon Musk is still pushing that, why EVs are still a huge thing. They're trying to get rid of like the petroleum industry for the most part, because it is difficult to calculate the energy output and consumption on an individual level, where things like lithium batteries and EVs can tell you down to like the kilowatt hour how much everybody's using. And then you bring in things like the smart meters, like for water and energy. And very quickly you have this thing where everybody is basically being micro-taxed. So it won't necessarily be like one day the shoe's going to drop and you're going to be like locked up in Guantanamo for what you say. It'll be automation is going to eliminate jobs so that we all have to have universal basic income. And then you'll be penalized out of that income based on the things that you say, the actions that you have, or kicked off entirely. It's actually happening. The American Bitcoin thing itself, the World Liberty Financial Exchange, Donald Trump actually had Justin Sun thrown off of there after he invested like $200 million into it. And so that's a way to like imagine that one person was able to make the decision to debank you entirely.
Right.
And that's kind of like where the slippery slope starts to come in, because you have the tokenization and the digital ID, the social media, the face tracking, all of these different things that are feeding into this algorithm that then create that profile of you that they can then obviously do whatever they want with, as far as like harvesting your information or tracking you, punishing you, whatever that looks like. And I think what we'll see is sort of what we've seen with the money system in general, which was started out very strong. A lot of people were able to sort of ride like the American economy, especially in like the early 20th century. But then very quickly it got captured and subverted, and then eventually we got to this point where we did have a 0.001% that amassed more than 50% of the wealth on the planet. And I think that we'll kind of see that same thing as we transition to crypto.
I like to play Hamilton, and it's a great play, and it has nothing to do with what I'm about. No, it does.
A redundancy, or not a redundancy, an oxymoron.
It's an
great
oxymoron.
Play.
I'm going to pull up the chart in a second, but the point is that if you watch it, it's interesting because it's propaganda, and it lionizes Hamilton, even though it's a plain admission of what he did and where he went wrong. You fight the Revolutionary War, whatever you think of that, kick the Brits out, and then immediately start to accrue debt on behalf of the crown. So it's like, you know, it really makes you think at what point, and this is all pointing back to Hamilton because he's a treasurer at the time. So it's like you fight this bloody war and then immediately turn around and start to take money or gold or whatever from the people you just killed. And fought. Yeah, that doesn't happen unless there's a deal made. Something happened here. And then you fast forward to about 2021, where CBDCs were kind of a big deal. The Boston Federal Reserve I think they were working on this plan. It might have been nixed because Trump seems to have went away from CBDCs, and they're just going to go the corporate public-private route where they'll do it themselves, which is genius. But yeah, their plan was called the Hamilton Plan, where they would incorporate CBDCs into the American dollar and do a little switcheroo that way. But I think conspiracy theorists were already ahead of it and people started to wake up to it. So now we're going to move over to something Bitcoin. But hey, how about American Bitcoin? Isn't that so much better? Put an American flag on it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, then you also have all of the other stable coins, which I have a chart for that as well. With
please,
all
let's
of their
see
stuff.
Oh my God.
There's this thing called the Fair Shake Pack that was created recently, and it's sort of like all of these, you know, like pro stablecoin crypto ventures like getting together to affect policy, very much in the same way that, you know, something like APAC would. But you have like Solana Labs is involved with that. That's where you get Anatoly Yakovenko, who was over Dropbox, and Qualcomm. Qualcomm is kind of like this American company that shares all of its secrets with it. And
nice.
So one of those things where even on the hardware level, because Qualcomm does like most of the chips in American phones, even on the hardware level, almost all of our devices are compromised.
All right, stop right there. So Qualcomm to Anatoly, Solana Labs. What leads into Solana Labs again?
It's this Fair Shake Pack. And essentially the Solana chain is what Donald Trump launched his meme coin on. That's what his wife's meme coin was launched on. So it is like another chain that offers not only its own blockchain and cryptocurrency, but allows people to create their own as a fork off of it. And that's sort of where people are jumping in, and you know, you've seen people like create their own coins, and most of them are typically like a fork off of
coins.
Yeah, exactly.
Rug pulls up. I just find it interesting because you get into the involvement of Israeli intelligence from Anatoly, you have Yakovenko, and then into this next company. Are you familiar with the theory about? To be honest, it's the most plausible theory for me. I'll just show the bullet again one more time, people. This goes right through your neck. This is a 30-06. Goes right through your neck. This doesn't I don't know, get jammed up in whatever. But one of the most plausible theories that I've been seeing is possibly the transponder or the lapel mic on Charlie's shirt or underneath his shirt is what caused that wound. And it's interesting when you consider the pagers or the beepers that detonated on Mossad all throughout the Middle East,
right?
Lebanon, and
the cryptic message of Netanyahu when he's talking to reporters and he goes, "You have a cell phone?" They say, "Yeah." He says, "Well, you have a piece of it with you." And then this chart here,
literally,
can you scroll over to that company?
Qualcomm.
Yeah. So they have they're dealing with chips in pretty much every device, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so Qualcomm basically runs like the antenna and the processor for most smartphones, at least in America. Their international sort of sister company, I guess you could call it, is Snapdragon. And that's what they use in like European companies and abroad. But yeah, I mean, I have some stuff on the like the in creation of Silicon Valley, I guess you could say. Do you guys remember last time I was on where we talked about how the Department of Defense created the first VC capital, and that like elevated Donald Trump's uncle, and they've sort of used that model to elevate companies since then and sort of put their thumb on the scale. That's sort of what Qualcomm was brought up as well as Snapdragon, and essentially it's these people that play ball very early with these entities, and they agree to allow things like backdoors in, which is why you have Apple, who claims to never work with the government and claims they don't have access to your information and stuff on a kernel level. They have binary access to every single thing that you do digitally. So every time that they say like we can't, that's typically a lie. And so you have Solana Labs is involved. You have Xapo Bank, which is another one, and this is through a guy named Wences Casares. He is connected to. Looks like he was part of the PayPal mafia. So that in comes Peter Thiel. You have people. Oh, what's his name? I'm already forgetting it. Sorry about that. He was part of Mozilla, the company that did Firefox.
Yeah.
Reid Hoffman. That's it. Reid Hoffman. Okay. He was involved with like Firefox. He was very close to Epstein. And he was one of the people on the Mozilla Foundation, along with like Joishu Ito, who was the MIT guy that was also getting Epstein donations. Yeah. You have Ripple. A lot of people have heard of Ripple. That is Brad Garlinghouse, who comes from Silver Lake Partners. Silver Lake Partners is one of the ones that is buying TikTok with Larry Ellison and I forget who the other company was, but Oracle and Silver Lake Partners and another company are buying TikTok right now. Silver Lake Partners has David Rowe from Oracle. And then Brad Garlinghouse was also part of AOL, which is Steve Case, who runs Revolution Group, that funds people like Palmer Luckey and Anduril Industries, that drone company. And then on the other side of that, you have Chris Larson. Chris Larson was actually the guy who created e-loans. So our online FICO credit score, like the Credit Karma thing, right. All of that was created by this guy. He created the technology, ended up becoming Credit Karma. He is also partnered with Intuit, which does TurboTax. And Intuit is is funded by a guy named John Doerr, who is part of Kleiner
One
Perkins.
question.
Yeah.
Sorry to stop. I know you're on a roll here. He's just like,
Oh,
we're
you're good.
fucking rolling through the chart, baby. Back to Ripple. Has XRP fallen off completely from whatever plans they had for it? Because I know it comes from Ripple Labs, right?
Yeah. So with XRP, they sort of had like this. I would kind of consider it like a fake crucifixion through the SEC. And then the second that David Sachs was put in over the SEC, that all that went away. The
real that should have happened to XRP happened to LBRY. Those guys, XRP was allowed to come back.
That these guys are using, right?
Well, it's just so Library had its own coin, and they were literally crucified. XRP looked like that, but they came back a couple of years later. They were taken off the markets, and then they came back at a much higher price. I was buying it at 30 cents, and now it's almost $3, something like that. So yeah. And
like with Ripple, I believe they were like one of the main ones with like the Coinbase conversation. Someone in your chat just said it's supposed to function as like cross-border transactions.
That was the main appeal to it, and that's why I was like investing in it heavily. Yeah. Because I understand that it seems like a lot of wealthy people would probably want that feature. So it did it the best at the time. I just don't. There's probably better stuff now.
Absolutely, and I mean they're obviously like one of hundreds. Like I know I believe China does still have a ban on Tether. I would need to go back and look at that, but like Tether is able to be used by multiple countries, and it is one of those things where it essentially becomes this thing where no matter where you are, you can spend and interact, and that just goes to like the globalization of the economy.
So Tether is I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Tether is like 1-to-1 US dollar, right?
Mhm.
That's what that's for. Okay, so you can spend US dollars with this coin in a consistent way. It retains the value of a dollar. That's why people would want to use that overseas.
But is that the only point of it, is to retain because if the dollar drops, then that means Tether drops equally with it?
Yeah, I guess so. It's just for the dollar. So
Yeah.
that's XRP does this with a multitude of currencies, I think, across borders.
Yeah, and with Tether, so you don't get the like massive gains that you would with a traditional, but you also don't get the like volatility of like a low, like it won't drop. It'll always just sort of stay where it is, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Stable.
Yeah. Another one is you have Coinbase is part of it as well. That's Brian Armstrong. Brian Armstrong actually donates directly to Bill Gates' The Giving Pledge. So that was like a massive, mostly pro-Jewish thing that was set up between Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Bill Gates' wife. And that's where you get like the Bezos donate to that. There's Larry Ellison donates to that. There's been tons of billionaires that do end up donating to that, and it's essentially like they are using that as a slush fund for all their like fake philanthropy things that they say are good for you, and work with things like the Bill and Melinda Gates foundations.
Is this why we see Bill Gates back in the Trump administration? Kind of
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember the? I think it was his patent like 060606.
Yeah, what was that? That was it was at the mining, like turning people into mining devices or something
Yes.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
so essentially that is where we're headed. And you have things like wearables and sensors, and they're essentially going to be harvesting like your metabolic and caloric functions. As well as trying to like piggyback off of the electrical signals in your brain and all of the kinetic energy that you build up through like movement and stuff via these wearables, and essentially use you as a battery to mine crypto with. Yeah.
That's
It's
cool.
like-
I like that. Like I am the grid now.
Like the show Wall-E or the movie Wall-E.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kinda-
Well, except that wouldn't be good because they were all morbidly obese. Like this would at least incentivize you to
they
be
want
active.
they want you
Like,
moving.
move, slave,
Yeah.
move. Yeah.
Absolutely. And and it reminds me a lot of the Matrix, where he's like,
Yeah.
they're trying to turn people into batteries, and it's not so much in the sense like they're gonna put you in a pod and harvest, maybe not right away, but it is one of those things where they are going to be used. I mean, they already do it with our data, and now they're starting to introduce like our medical data into the Internet of Things, and so we're always going to be constantly monitored and tracked and recorded and updated on a blockchain ledger, and that's going to coincide with all of these cryptocurrencies as well, and the digital ID. I think it is one of those things that's still a little further off than I don't think we're going to see all of this actively working flawlessly in 5 years, but 15 years from now, I do see it as like a very real foreseeable future.
We just had the guy from that wrote The Matrix originally in 1993, the original playwright, and it was stolen from him, and this whole kind of struggle, but he said that Elon Musk, in his opinion, has been put into place, propped up artificially to usher in
That
the
would be
very
an interesting conversation, right?
I would love to see you guys.
His name is
talk.
Thomas Althouse.
Althouse, yeah.
Okay.
And he said that Elon has been artificially propped up in order to bring to us this idea of Neuralink, which was called like neural interface in the film, or at least in his original
In the script.
in the script, and that it was sensationalized for the film, this idea of like this friggin' dagger going in the back of your head, but that's not the way that he originally wrote it. It was much smaller, but for the film, he also said they weren't meant to look as they weren't supposed to be wearing leather trench coats and all that other stuff. But it's interesting because if you look at what he's claiming, it does look like, and interestingly enough, he claims that the inspiration for the playwright came to him basically via download, like you would maybe call it channeling or something like that, which shows itself quite often in people's like art pursuits in big works like this. And he's describing it like it was almost like a premonition, and that everything is moving towards this, that it was prophetic in that way. But it almost sounds like the original playwright would have been more realistic, that we would have been able to see it more accurately if it wasn't for the trans dudes getting it and then sensationalizing it, turning into this, like, you know, it needs to have the Hollywood blockbuster glitz and glam and all the kind of bullet time and things of that nature. But the way he described it was eerily similar to exactly what we're seeing getting rolled out right now.
Absolutely. And I think he's absolutely right in the sense that, you know, the original technocracy movement was happening like very beginning of the 20th century. And Elon Musk's grandfather was a huge proponent of that. He was in Canada sort of promoting it, so much so that they found him in violation of the Defense of Canada Act.
Wow.
They fined him $8,000, and then he claims to have become like disenfranchised with the entire movement and moved to South Africa after that. And then, just so coincidental that his daughter's son would come back and do exactly what he was trying to do 100 years ago.
Yeah. They just had to kind of prime the culture to basically celebrate him, because you could do all of those things as long as you're like based.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where we're at right now. You're like, you got to be autistic, you got to be based, then you can stick crap in our heads. It's fine.
Absolutely. I mean, even when he was first coming out, it was like they were trying to position him as like some sort of Tony Stark character. He had this like huge leftist agenda. He was like pro-trans rights, pro-climate change, and all of those. And he openly talks about AI, you know, coming in and basically taking over the world. He says that like the Optimus robot is going to be like the next iPhone in terms of like changing the game. And you know, I don't think that he's the one that is like running all of the, I think he's basically just a front for like DARPA and the military industrial complex.
Yeah. I was saying that he has like these speech patterns that are filled with these long, awkward pauses. And because we're told ahead of time that he's a genius, we just take that as being representative of being a genius. Like, oh yeah, obviously his brain works totally different than ours, because no normal human being would ever pause for 45 seconds in a podcast before they said something. That's only what super geniuses do. So because he's weird and he's supposed to be a genius, we just pair those two things and then say, all right, as you were.
Absolutely. Yeah. One good thing to go look at is when someone asks him about how much water data centers are using.
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
His answer to that, that to me is like the accurate portrayal of his mind. Because he's essentially in California and someone's like, hey, what about the data centers that are using all the water? And he's like, look around, there's water everywhere. And it's like, yeah, okay. So you're just trying to say because there's ocean that we could never possibly have any sort of like water scarcity.
Yeah, but when a genius says that, you're like, he's probably figured a way to get the salt out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you can kind of, you have, you know, carte blanche to say whatever the hell you want. But I've heard that there were multiple instances where like he was asked to explain some aspect of his technology. And oh yeah, that's a good one too. That quote, the new God will come out of Memphis, meaning Memphis, Tennessee. But, you know, it's a hearkening to Egypt. He just fails to be able to explain it in any satisfactory way. And so it's like there are instances where he's pressed and he's meant to really explain some advancement in technology or, you know, whatever it is, and he can't pull it off. And so, but you got to like get him off stage real quick or shift the subject or get him sitting across, you know, Joe Rogan. And in that context, he seems like a super genius.
Absolutely. And I think it was one of those things where like, they needed someone that was completely adhered to the agenda, and they were like, all right, so we can go with Peter Thiel, who sweats every time he talks, or Elon Musk. And I think they ended up going with Elon because he was a little more charismatic and presentable.
Yeah, but they did that. You're right about that. They integrated him in like these big blockbuster films like Iron Man. And one of the things Tom Althouse pointed out was he was like in a really popular episode of Young Sheldon, I think it was, and he's like a super genius. But I think they already tested it out on us. They're like, we made these people believe that Stephen Hawking was a super genius, we could definitely make him believe that this guy who can at least speak is a super genius. Because I'm really convinced like Stephen Hawking was literally a crippled dude in a wheelchair, and they were like making his robot wheelchair speak, and he wasn't doing that. Yeah, making it speak for him, which is, if you think about it, if that guy had a consciousness trapped in that body that wasn't willing to cooperate, horrifying existence. Yeah. What a horrifying existence for this guy to be wheeled out on one stage after another stage in front of the American public, in front of the world, narrating, scientific documentaries about the nature of our galaxy and universe. And it's like it's unlistenable because it's in robot speak. And this guy is just, if he's aware that that's happening, that dude, I mean, really, really, really horrifying existence. But yeah, I think they do that. They give us our super geniuses, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, he was basically like a ventriloquist dummy. In a sense.
Yeah.
And the company that was behind his like speech, like text to speech technology thing it was a company called SwiftKey, which is owned by Microsoft. So, do with that information what you will.
Yeah, man, that's horrible.
I honestly think I will never know the truth about that situation, but I think if we really did know like the true nature of what's going on with Stephen Hawking, we'd be mortified.
He probably deserved it. He probably did something.
It said on his seat at all times there was a electronic. No, that's not true. I made that up. Don't listen to me. Continue, please.
So I think it's also important to like kind of talk about the ADL and the anti-Semitism laws.
It's very important, yeah.
That are coming into play because we start talking about tokenization and that's where you start to get this. Okay, so this lives forever. You're able to basically create a database. So every action that you do is tokenized. Like a lot of people don't understand that there are token IDs associated with social media posts. So like when you look in the URL, that number that says like post and then slash and then numbers, that is your like post identifying number. You also have like a user ID and a device ID and like all these IDs that are basically associated with you that can be put into a database. They could use anything that can read like a SQL table and basically create this profile on you. And I think that the reason that like cryptocurrency and tokenization in general is sort of where they're trying to drive the economy is because that's where they can also, create this permanent index of everything everyone's ever said or done or anything you've ever purchased, and so on and so forth. And essentially that basically gives like unlimited ammunition to the ADL to go back and, retroactively like scrape your online discourse, even as like the political climate sort of shifts. So where we are right now, maybe the things I'm saying aren't illegal, but what if in 5 years they are, and they go back and they're like, hey, we did flag this one thing and it's been, tokenized under this category of you being, racist against like transhumanist people, like
anything. I don't even know if we're going to go in that direction. I mean, like right now, Guar, I don't know if you guys have seen the post, but they're getting dragged all over Twitter. People are like, oh my God, have you seen this? And for context, Guar basically is a metal band that their shtick is, can we be as extreme and obtuse as possible? They dress like monsters that are supposed to be from outer space or like aliens. And for the last 20 years, probably more than that, because as the guys die, since they're in suits, you can like, I know they had like one of the members pass away. You just replace them. Nobody can tell what the hell it is because you're in a giant suit that looks like a creature. And so for the past 20 years, back in high school, they were doing shows. They were decapitating Hillary Clinton, a dummy of her, and they would bend her over and they'd spray the crowd with. And then all their songs are like, they have a song called Meat Sandwich. They have a song called Fucking an Animal. Like it's all just the worst. Like what is the worst thing you could possibly say and do and then turn into a song? And now in typical Guar fashion, they are doing that to Donald Trump. And now all of a sudden, these conservatives and all these like, kind of people that are really wound up since the death of Charlie Kirk are looking for anything that is signaling political violence. And they think that they've identified it here in Guar. So it's like, I don't know if we have to get as obtuse as if you're speaking out against transhumanism. We're at this conservative pendulum swing it might just be as simple as were you in any way, shape, or form associated with leftist ideology? Can we link you to promoting political violence in any way, shape, or form? Did you say Elon Musk should suck at it? And it's like, that is enough. You know what I mean? So I just look at this and I'm like, damn, dude, like we were even the Democrats were okay with that. You know, and I'm not saying you have to like, you know, it's like, it's weird, it's demonic, it's gross, you know, it's obtuse. I'm not saying you got to like it, but now all of a sudden this culture, this time, this, you know, administration, I don't even, it's much more than an administration. It's a social consensus that we're moving towards, is going to go further than what the leftists were willing to do with Guar for all this time. You know, when Obama was in office, they did it to him. It's just a wild idea.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And like to see that it's sort of this like is like very heavily influenced in all of it, and you take into consideration, you know, the sentiments behind people that own the tech, and they own the VC capital firms, and they own the media, and you know, eventually it becomes this very slippery slope of they can turn people on and off from a society whenever they want, because if you're not able to transact or communicate or build, then what can you do?
Yeah.
You know?
And speaking of slippery slopes, Nancy, can you bring up that image of
Damn.
Can you bring up that video, because she's Japanese, that video of Guar doing the because I want people to see this. It's so for it to be mistaken as political violence or an attempt at political violence or a promotion of it is insane. These people are dressed up like assholes, and it's so obvious that it's a bit, and yet people are. I mean, I woke up this morning, the amount of people that are like, "Oh my God, have you seen this? Have you seen what they're doing with here we go, great, okay, I think they're gonna cut his belly off." Has been gone for some time. Just look at it. Hold on, wait. So pause that. Guar has been gone for some time. Just to resurface like this, I didn't know they were gone at all. How desperate are they to defile what looks like Elon Musk and Donald Trump? How dare they defile Elon Musk and Donald Trump? Dude, we're talking about, this is exactly what they've always done. Maybe there's something worth talking about, because, you know, it seems like South Park didn't do a Biden bit, which is like, okay, that's a little bit, you didn't do a Biden bit, but then you came back and did a Trump bit, but you still did what you've always done. This is what Guar specifically has always done. They've always dismembered political leaders on stage. Let that go. So we've got this big, obviously fake Donald Trump dancing in front of these gigantic space demons, you know, and they rip his belly off. Oh, they're spraying on the crowd. And that's the point too. When you're at a Guar show, you're supposed to wear like a white t-shirt. Well, now these homo kids are wearing ponchos, is my understanding. You missed the entire point. You're supposed to have this soaked shirt that you then take home, and it's a you know, it's memorabilia.
You still got to understand like why people are like, maybe not.
I get it, but
you know,
it's what I don't like is like, well, you're wrong. They've been doing this, and is that what we're doing now? Now we're just looking. It's libs of TikTok that posted that they had sex with Sam Hyde or something. I don't know, but they're like, this is what we're doing now. We're looking for cartoonish things, and then you find out like, oh, it's always been done, but the cat's out of the bag. Now it's viral. Now how many people? Imagine how many boomers are seeing this. They don't know. They're just condemning, and I'm like, damn, dude. We used to have fun, is what I'm saying. We can't just a world leader on stage and spray teenagers with their. Is that too much? I don't know. We used to be a proper country, and now I worry about where we're going.
It kind of reminds me a lot of. Do you guys remember when Kathy Griffin posted that picture of Trump's head on a plate?
Well, that okay.
Yeah.
no.
But why is that different?
Well, it's only different because Kathy Griffin was trying to be like some sort of weird rebellious leader in a movement. These are assholes dressed like aliens that have been doing this for 20 years to literally everybody.
Yeah, but for us, I'm just gonna be realistic. For dudes like us that have told, and not like we're not doing this kind of joking, but we've told crazy jokes, and now we are not really doing that anymore, and we've seen the backlash from people who were like, I thought that was real. I thought that you hated black people. I thought that you wanted to go out there and because I was like joke. We were making a point. I was making a point about that. This is obviously bad for society. Let's laugh at it. Should be shunned and rejected. And they're like, you don't want to kill these people?
Well, really,
Like,
it's not that it's bad for society.
But then they go, what's wrong with you? Like, what are you doing? And then
you
I'm like, and then I'm looking at them. I'm like, well, I think you should like chill. Like, are you that serious about it? Because like I never wanted to form like
my thing is more like
information. So I'm just saying there's an argument for like, hey, be fucking careful with what you're doing here, because now half the world's on
okay, but we just did a bit where we said the parasite told the guy to kill Charlie Kirk.
You did that bit.
You did that bit too, where you denounced anti-Semitism.
No. So we're joking, clearly.
Right, but the reason that we dialed it back was more accurately because we recognized we were being dog walked in this direction where they were going to flip the switch. And so, like, you should be careful if you recognize that, like, there may be some concerted effort to steer the culture in a direction where they can then Hegelian dialectic respond to the thing that they've created.
Yeah, but also, like, I'm just saying, like, and I should be on the other side of it, but this is just for devil's advocate. Like, hey, there was a major, no matter how it happened, played on the world stage over and over and over again, and people saw this, they've been traumatized. It's like, I don't know, you're gonna do the same exact thing. Like, there are people, like I said, there are people on major antipsychotic drugs that will never get off them their entire life. This is government funded MK Ultra stuff. I don't know what these people are seeing when they see this. Like, I don't know what is going through their head. And neither does Guar.
Well, I know that when a major attempt happened, we literally got on a giant show and said it wasn't real. So when Donald Trump
that
took
wasn't real,
right? So I mean, I don't know, man. It's just like
no, but I'm just saying, I'm making the argument of like, hey, maybe like cool it a little.
What are
bit.
they supposed to do? What is Guar supposed to do? How is Guar supposed to turn a corner and stop?
Here's what worries them. What worries me is not. I don't even think that guy took the shot at Charlie Kirk. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't think that happened. I think there was something else happening. That was like a
lapel mic thing.
I don't know, but I'm not even
sure he's dead.
Oh,
there's a lot of that.
You go.
There's a lot of that. He's in Valhalla, right? And all this.
What I do know is when I go on Facebook and I look at the normal people, not us. I look at people that I used to know, and I see their reaction to it. A lot of them from New York City. I'm glad I'm glad this happened. Yeah. Good. The like lust for, and I'm just like, all right, maybe we should calm the down right now.
Yeah.
Like, and then you see this, and I'm just like I get what this is, but I'm starting to think of like, well, man, how are other people processing this stuff?
Well, even being careful with, like, let's say the Trump thing, right? Like, we weren't careful. We're still not careful. But now you recognize that the left has co-opted that.
No, you're conflating though.
I don't think it's because you can look at that and you can go, guys, right now the left is speculating that Trump was totally faked. And then we could look at all of our rhetoric and go, we should be really careful because these people are galvanizing to these ideologies.
But that's like, no, that's crazy. That's saying like we went out and made content in the
we're still saying it though
of us shooting like a fake Trump. This is the 1-to-1. What I'm saying, like, you have a Republican or a conservative political figure being murdered in this way, like how they're showing. Like, we didn't do that. I didn't go out there and be like, he didn't get shot in the head, and then we just do target practice. Like, we didn't do that.
No, that's crazy.
We were just saying like, hey, there's a lot of going on here, and I don't think it's what they told us, and I think that that's fine. This is okay too. Like, I'm not offended by it, but I'm keenly aware that I've been telling people. No, what I've been telling people and what I've been showing them, even if it's in jest or if I'm trying to make a point, 70-80% of them get it. Some of them don't. Some of these people don't, and I don't know why. I think maybe they're lost. Maybe they're like drugged out. Maybe they are like fully indoctrinated in the MK Ultra. So I'm just saying, like, yo, when we say stuff, let's try to be a little bit more concise. And these guys aren't really even saying anything. This is just, honestly, the whole thing looks. So I look and I go, why even do it? It doesn't. And again, I don't care if you do it, but I look and I go, what the point does this serve?
Yeah.
You should be able to.
I don't know. It has to serve a point. You're dressed up like a
no.
space
You know what point
creature.
it serves? Yeah, I'll pull it up. This is the point.
Pull
that
it up
serves.
again. Put it on the screen.
You just killed prominent conservative voice in front of everybody. Then you do this. It's almost like you're asking for a response. So I go, what's the point of this? Because I don't want that response. But when you do this, I understand why boomers lose their mind. I understand why people who are still emotional about it lose their mind. Not me, but I'm looking at it, I'm going, yeah. And I also could understand.
Hello?
Oh, sorry.
We ended the show.
No,
I was upset.
I dropped my mouse. And it, like,
unbelievable, dude.
Anyway, like I'm seeing how other people that kind of are like not on the edge of, yeah, dude, people that are playing furry role-playing games online
while they're shooting ARs and shit.
Yeah, they're not sending these text messages to each other. My love, I just did this. I don't think so. But I think that if you're in those chat rooms, there's something off, dude. And I don't think when I'm speaking, you're hearing the same words. Like you are on some sort of medication. Your mind has been diluted into such a way where I don't even know what the fuck you're hearing. Got to be real careful what we're saying. And if you don't believe me, I've said some things online, and so have you, where people read it and they go, here's a picture of my grenade launcher. Yeah. And I'm going to find you. And they say where I'm at. And I'm like, okay, that was not what I'm saying. But this is what you're hearing. I'm like, yo, dude, we got to be real careful. Shit's wild out there. And this is just like the thing I'm looking at here. I'm like, this is just inflammation to inflame. And I used to be more of a fan of it. But now I'm kind of like, yo, there's kind of consequences to that.
For them, though, all right, you say you used to be more of a fan of it. So there was a time you could imagine where like people were a fan and probably still are of what they're doing.
Where I took
hold on, let me ask you this.
Picture of my kid
and
fake crucified against and spray fake, and created a whole thing online.
So let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
Let's say you did that. Like, let's say it was like
I wouldn't
a holiday.
do that. I wouldn't do that again because
no. Here, you got to change the parameters a little bit. Let's say that every year, a couple of times a year on a specific date for 20 fucking years, you did that.
Yeah.
And then one day things got a little bit crazy. It would be at least a different set of pressures. Now imagine you make albums, you sell out venues. This is how you make a living for 20 years. Everybody's totally cool with you killing Obama. They're cool with you doing it to Hillary Clinton. They're cool with you doing it to every single but. And then all of a sudden this happens and you go, there it goes, boys. Time to hang up the demon suits.
Understand me. How much more money do you need? I'd be like, just understand the moment of what just happened. Everybody agrees that was spiritually heavy. Again, whether Charlie Kirk got shot or not, whether he's alive or dead, what we saw there was a ritual sacrifice, whether it happened or not, and it was a loosh sucking moment.
It was, dude,
for the entire world.
They sucked our loosh hard.
I'm just saying, just pay attention, whether it's real or not. Whether you think holograms flew into the 9/11, the Twin Towers, and they came down, or whatever it was, whatever you think, whether they existed or not. The point is that they showed it to a bunch of people. And people think this. Yeah. And there is like this spiritual thing going on where it's like, just maybe do it next month.
Maybe next month. I don't know. I'm just maybe month. Z-Man says, I bet Guar could have did this in Leesburg.
I bet you they could have did that in the Tropic Theater.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
That was a tangent.
We canceled the show on you and everything.
I'm glad we disagreed a little bit on something.
Yeah,
I feel like we're just like, yes.
I hate you.
I'm gonna cut your stomach off.
Oh my god! I don't know. What do you?
Who do you agree with?
Yeah, pick one. Pick a side.
Or him.
So it's difficult because I do think that it should be a nothing. Like I think they should be able to freely do that on stage if they want to. The problem is, like you bring up as a point, is you can't control how people interpret things. Even if you say something perfectly, somebody that's off their fucking rock. I mean, look at the guy that did Catcher in the Rye. You know, it's like, you know, even if that was like a psyop or whatever, it's like the guy that was writing that wasn't like, go Ronald Reagan or whatever. It's so
right.
It's one of those
but people interpret that as, yeah, exactly. People pick that up and that's what I'm just saying, man. Like the more that my microphone grows, I'm like, gotta be real careful with this. Like I just wanted to have fun. Yeah. But now you realize there's like, oh man, you guys really are going to do that because of something I said? It's like now at a much larger level, like these dudes been doing it for 20 years. I'm like, just fucking pay attention a little bit, guys. Like you're going to cause like a war. You're going to get our rights. It's not necessarily them, but you're contributing to getting our rights stripped away because that's the plan anyway. You're just another useful idiot as a cog in the machine, and maybe we head that way anyway. But like, yo, dude, I'm not gonna be the guy like Elon Musk. I'm not gonna be the guy to put the tweet out so that you could blow it up and then manipulate more people. Like, I'm just gonna try to be a little more careful.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen anyway, though.
Yeah, it is one of those things where, you know, I try to make it completely undoubtable that, like, I'm not calling for political violence against anybody, or, you know, I'm not trying to rile people up to say, like, hey, go burn down data centers, right? Because that is only going to add fuel to their fire, give them another data point to speak to say, look, these people are crazy, you know, and that only accelerates things. And really, it seems like the only way to do it is just tell people, like, you just have to quit. You have to get out of it. You got to build your own. You got to try to, you know, mitigate how much control they have over your life, and then self-defense. That's essentially the two that we have, and it's difficult too because they've created non-violent types of warfare that they perpetuate against us that we then can't respond in violence to, because that just furthers the agenda, so on and so forth.
It's hard, man, because I do wonder.
This is a good point too. It's like, it could just very well be, you know, orchestrated anger that doesn't really exist. Like,
we could be passionately responding to something that isn't really there.
Like, all of us have passionately responded to somebody who does not exist. But it's like, we're at the point now, like, between AI and bots and the proliferation of, like, discussions on the internet, it's so out of hand.
And I just wonder, like, what happens to the state of comedy now going forward, because these guys, like, all of their songs are comedy.
Oh, this is like, are they like pure comedy?
They're pure comedy. None of their songs are serious. It's all pure comedy.
It just looks kind of cringing to me. Like,
it's literally supposed to look, because the idea is anybody who ever takes this seriously is, and looking at that display on the stage, you would go, obviously these look like World of Warcraft
like
assholes.
I said, you know, we put a picture of my my son up with fake clearly on it, and he's crucified. It's a little palm, and it's like, yeah, but it's like, it was the same thing. I was like, this is clearly fake. I said that it was done in, there's an American outlet in there for you.
The blood is bad. Paint.
I'm a graphic designer. If I wanted to make it look real, it would have looked better than that. I did it on purpose, and people still lost their shit, but that was the point of it. The political climate, though, was a little bit different.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, so what should the realm of comedy do?
I don't know.
Politics?
Comedy's not even addressing it, you know? So it's like, and I guess I understand why now, but it's like, I don't know what to do about it. It's just,
it makes me want to touch it. You know what I mean? Like, it upsets me that, you know, it's going to be weaponized and everybody's going to get into this big hush, which is very much like the direction that we're moving in now.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of like a shot across the bow. I don't give a shit about Jimmy Kimmel. Think he's unfunny, but he's been within a comedian's context, sort of, kind of, even though he's been unfunny. It's hard for me to feel any remorse when he does temporarily get suspended. They've since reinstated his show or whatever, but I'm not going to say that it's not been a thought on my mind where it's like, even though I don't like Jimmy Kimmel, even though I find it funny that this has happened to him, I also go, they don't stop with this expansion of power at where you're happy with. They always go beyond that, and they'll continue to go beyond that. So, you know, I don't know what the answer is, but it's a weird place to be. Thinking it's funny and also being a little bit afraid about where this goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of I feel like a hypocrite, my explanation here, because I'm like, yes, I understand the attempt at funny.
You know, it is dumb and bad, your explanation, yeah, and you should feel bad about it. But
am I wrong? I'm not wrong. No, I'm like, hey,
I get it.
You know, right now, people don't want to. They're not even going to see like the backstory. Most of the time, they won't see the backstory anyway. Right now, people are just going to pick a side, and it's just going to be weird.
Yeah.
It's like, just like fucking now Guar.
Right now, Guar. And it's like, imagine saying that to dudes that are dressed up like goblins. You know what
I
I mean?
would.
Like-
I'd be like, right now though, like, yes, but now.
But where Seven is talking about, I mean, just think about all the apparatus that he's just laid out. That's all in place, and all these companies that are ready to seize the moment. It's like that is where they're going. The very thing that I'm kind of worried about when I see it happen to a Jimmy Kimmel. I saw somebody say it's fake, and I kind of believe that. I think it's it's even meant to like it's, we're talking about
there's another grain of sand towards it. I'm just saying like that's what I'm saying right now. Like read the room of what's gonna happen here, and you're just like. But I guess no matter what you do,
that sentiment that will roll out massive attacks, facial recognition features, because you go like, right, you're right. It is time to be sensitive about it. It is time for these people who say these things to take this accountability, track their faces.
No, I'm not saying
track their faces. Is that what you want, Tom?
No, I'm on the like the precognition crime of maybe just like don't make that joke right now. Just fucking wait another week. Or some like the news cycle moves so quick.
What did Louis J. Gomez say? The best jokes about 9/11 were made on 9/12.
In 2001. In 2025, we are in such a downhill spiral that it's like, dude, you don't feel that? You don't feel it?
Yeah, dude.
I'm surprised we haven't been raptured yet, dog. It's 3:40.
We're supposed to be raptured.
It was supposed to be today, right?
Oh my god, it's still early. 3:38. I don't know. I think we still have some time to get raptured, dude. It's a lot, and I feel like
you just met me in an interesting time in my life, Seven. That there's just a lot going on.
I just watched you drop the N-word on stage a few months ago.
Never mind all that.
And now you're like, I don't know if we should be making these jokes anymore.
Yeah, dog. You don't feel that way?
It's like, now that I've made the jokes, nobody else should be making these jokes. That's what you said.
I didn't say that. What I'm saying is I'm looking at him going, huh. What did we put into motion? It's not like I put into motion. It's not like you did.
I appreciate you taking some responsibility.
It's a lot of people. Everyone has put these things into motion. It's like, man, well, are we power? I'm sorry. We just took this episode. Are we powerless to stop?
I didn't know we were going to be this passionate, Seven. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Bring it out of me.
I think the biggest issue is that everyone is emotionally attached to politics in the sense that, I think that when a bill is introduced and that bill is going to subvert your rights, yes, I think you should be engaged and passionate about trying to let people know. But when it comes to stuff that happens on the world stage that does not affect your rights, your privacy, your freedom, etc., once you become emotionally attached to those things, you are so easily manipulatable. Like if they are able to elicit any sort of emotional response out of you, you are controlled. And I think like getting people to separate that is the most important way to sort of go about this conversation, to say like, we should be able to laugh and have a good time and express ourselves, and then also have over here our actual political opinions. And people won't do that. They'll always conflate the two because they're everything's taken literally now.
The crazy part is like the cure is also the ailment. So comedy breaks that.
Hair of the dog that bit you.
Yeah, comedy does break that. But then I'm like, how do I reach these people? Because I'm trying.
Reach these people?
I was trying to break it. I'm trying to break it with so many things I do. And then I look back at my track record and I'm like, you know what though? There's a lot of people. There's 70 people in here in this private chat that we have broken. That maybe they were already had that broken for them before.
They were all pretty broken.
They were all broken. They're just broken
They're
people.
already pretty broken people.
Just trash. No, no, but you know what I mean? Like you look back and then I look back at the 10 out of the 100 and I go, oh, those people didn't get it. And I'm like,
there's always going to be, and this is something that we know is like, there's always going to be some percentage of those who don't get it. And they're going to be totally unreachable. And I don't think that you can operate, and especially if you're telling the truth, and if you're telling the truth through comedy, if you're going to curb the truth for the sake of those who will never hear it, I think it's the wrong move. Right? It's like, you want to talk about, like, we're Christians on this show, and it's like the idea of proclaiming the name of Jesus Christ until your head rolls. Well, what bigger ramification is there than losing your head? But that's the game, right? The game is speaking the truth. If we believe that that's the truth, then we do that up until the day that they shut our mouths.
I'm just saying, like, right now we're comparing proclaiming
I know
the name of Jesus Christ to like 7 foot tall monsters ripping off Donald Trump. I'm just saying, like, do it.
Yeah, I agree.
But then who am I? Who am I to say do it better? Like,
Well,
or in a different way.
You've
That's
never even listened to their songs like Meat Sandwich, like Fucking an Animal, or any of these classic Guar songs they cut right to the heart of the truth. Okay, so don't knock it until you listen to a couple of Guar bangers. I don't know, man. I just think that I don't want a black pill, although it's hard every time Seven Seas is on.
I know,
not
right?
To black pill. But it feels like we are rolling towards this thing that does seek to you. It seeks to highlight you and force you to bend to its will with your social credit score, with your removal from society, and with your ultimate death, if that's what it takes. And ultimately, I mean, that's kind of what we've always been faced with, right? I mean, the idea of a police state is compulsion by what? Death. If you don't pay your fines, you get thrown in the cage. If you refuse to get thrown in the cage, you're gonna get done by force. If you refuse to yield to the force, you get killed.
Where are you at? I feel like we ask you this every time. Where are you at with like this actually being able to be avoided? Avoidance or a departure from the lane that we're headed towards? Because your charts look like we're
Such a
back
bummer.
into a corner.
Do you see a way forward? Yeah, that's a great question.
So it sucks because like the number one thing I always get is like, oh, you are black pilling, like we might as well just give up. And it's like
You're just saying that exists. Like you didn't say anything that, I mean, you do say that some people fund other people, but most of this is just like
observations of facts.
Yeah, observation, and it's kind of like, man.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I do see like the totality of where we're headed, and you have things like spy satellites, you have the entire government, military industrial complex, and all of these things, and it is one of those things where in an ideal world I would love for everybody to wake up, but we can't even agree on how Charlie Kirk died. How are we going to agree on how to remove a government that has this like totalitarian hold on the country? It's it's difficult. It's why I like try to advocate like save yourself, save your kids, get them out of public school, get them away from cities, educate them, show them how to like live on the land and be self-sufficient and stuff. And it is one of those things where I'm gonna keep talking about it, hoping that maybe one day enough people will wise up and we might have some sort of majority. But just looking at the way that we have been heading for the past 10 years, it's like people are fucking, we're not waking up. Like, we're not going to recognize all of these things. So save yourself, like stop spending your time, like going through, 15 different angles of the Charlie Kirk. Go learn how to like grow food. Like
that's a banger. Yeah,
that was he's shooting, like, you ever seen the meme where the guy's talking is like just daggers right into you? I'm like, I've watched Charlie Kirk die like fucking 5,000 times.
Meanwhile, you've got like 3 dying plants on your property.
Can't grow a banana tree.
Somebody in the chat said the only thing that stops Seven's charts is a massive solar flare, and I'm kind of getting to this place in my life where I'm like rooting for the solar flare. Because at least if it reduces everything, like it'd be like, yo, I know it sucks, but listen, like you don't know where this was going.
If the ghost or the demon is in the machine itself, which is like, honestly,
kind of seems more
pretty evident at this point. Like all this evil stuff is working through some sort of digital technology, from electricity to Ethernet cables, and it's like if there is a bright ray of light that cuts all that out, I'm kind of like, what's the good guy here? But I'm also not wishing for solar flare.
I'm not wishing for it, but if what he's highlighting is really I don't see another way around it, honestly. The thing that they are gearing us towards, and what almost seems like a little bit of an inevitability at this point, then I would prefer. I would say I would prefer
pull the plug on
a solar flare than all, because a solar flare goes off, you can't look at that new angle of Charlie Kirk's death, but you can hold your family, go back to working with your hands, do something meaningful. You still have a relationship with God, you still have a community. Things will get scary and things will get a little, but we adapt and given enough time, things will settle, new systems will emerge, and we'll be a few hundred years away from the AI demons again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is one of those things where like, oh, so you just want to go back, and it's like, I absolutely do, because history is full of terrible, but it's the devil I know, you know. Like where we're going is uncharted territory, where they're talking about, you know, nanotechnologies and sensors to be able to emit electrical signals to change your brain patterns and the way that you think about things and your entire perception of reality. And you know, I see what has happened with like internet and smartphones in the past 20 years, where, you know, they've just kind of got their footing, and now you bring in AI that's going to accelerate things. I mean, I see it at a point where, you know, if this goes unmitigated for the next 30 years, we're going to essentially have a hive mind, like a digital hive mind, where things are going to be telling us what to do, and they're going to be showing us our own like independent echo chambers and versions of reality that we are absolutely convinced is real.
It leads you to ask the question, how many times have we been here? We have definitely one solid story of like the Tower of Babel, where it sounds a lot like what you're describing, this hive mind, this like this a gathering of knowledge to do one thing, whatever it may be. And it's like
throughout history, it looks like there's been this emergence of technologically advanced civilizations, right, that just get like wiped out and hidden, and there's remnants, and we're like Tartaria,
filled
like
with mud. Yeah, like this has happened before. We've been here. How do you avoid it? How and also, is this the final iteration of that? That's kind of the constant question we're asking. Is like, is this the one?
Atma said solar flare pilled. And I kind of like that. Like, I honestly, it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for like the momentum of things and the constant urge to you know, say something to people about you know, all these things that are going on. I would much rather, like, I used to work on a farm. It was nice. It was just nice. I would like prune trees. I'd go and collect eggs. I'd, you know, whatever. I'd run at the back of the tractor and drop plants into the holes that it made. And it was cool. And if it was like, if there wasn't all this extra demand and there wasn't all this other thing that, you know, sort of the pressures of society say you can't make a living enough that way, and you got to do this and you got to do that, and in order to own your own land and yada yada, I'm like, maybe just wipe it clean, and then I'll shake somebody's hand and be like, I'll take this section over here, you take that section over there. I got some stuff.
I think Matt got it right. Matt's doing like our buddy's doing like just he's got a food forest, owns his own business, but the food forest, and it's like, yeah, when you go to his house and you look at it, you're like, yep, that's it. That's what you're supposed to do.
He's like, I come to this place, I got a coffee shop, I make coffee for people. I said, but at back home, that's like where the real thing is. And you're like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, like the real thing. So I don't know. It's a little bit disheartening, and it is, I guess, maybe a little bit of a black pill, but everybody knows that this is what they're trying to do. And it's very obvious that this is what they're trying to do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with highlighting that. And if it being highlighted upsets you, that's not a information problem. That's a you problem. Seven, big fan of your work. Sorry we screamed at each other. I'm sorry my co-host had such bad ideas and I had to scream at him on the show. Next time, and of course, you're always invited back. And of course, the next Bohemian Grove, we'd love to have you as well.
I thought my ideas were fine.
I mean, you know, you just gotta get a little course corrected is all. That's all that happened. Before we get out of here, I guess
if anyone's wondering who my handler is, I guess sitting here next to me.
Is it worth asking him? I don't know if Seven is having fun.
If we asked him last time, but we'll ask him again.
Are you having fun? Is it still fun, Seven?
The last couple of weeks weren't very fun, but I think you can make your own fun and make fun of people. I think that's the easiest way to make fun.
Maybe dress like a giant demon and make fun of Trump by slashing his torso open and spraying a crowd with his... As a LARP, as a joke, as a thing that you would do.
You got to make your own fun, guys.
You got to make your own. Seven, where can everybody find you, brother?
Yeah, so you can find me on X, Twitter, Rumble, YouTube. I guess they're letting everybody back on YouTube because they need to train their AI models. So... luckily still on there, and then I have Substack and places you can donate to me. I also have I just launched a website. It only works when I'm live because I don't know how to code, but it's 7seas.tv. And it's bare bones, no ads. You don't have to create an account. There isn't a chat. But if I ever get kicked off every platform, I still have that website where you guys can go.
Oh, if you're looking for help, I'm not offering because I don't know anything. But if anybody hears this and you want to offer your services, hit them up, because we all need to be doing that. We've been talking about how we need to get off Patreon.
Yeah.
Patreon is going to terminate us, once they figured out that, because right now in our profile on Patreon, it says God bless it, so that we keep getting overlooked. But, once they figure out what's really going on, it's going to be a problem.
Wait a second.
Yeah. So we're going to have to figure out some sort of, I think it's a great idea. Good on you. I'm working on that. That's awesome, man. All right, let's get
We need to do that too. But yeah, thanks for coming back, Seven.
Yeah.
Guys, been a long day.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. And now me and David have to fight privately. But we'll see you later.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real.
You can persuade people that what they see with their eyes is what there is to see. You can't. Because they'll